Hello, this is just a video to talk a little bit about the performance work I've been doing to the Protocol AI site. I've just got Firefox up here with the DevTools open, and basically, not very scientifically, but scrolled around the site or the homepage whilst recording it on the performance tab in the DevTools, and just to see what I see. So I've got two profiles here. I've got the current site. Actually, I've done the optimized site for a little bit longer, but the current site is currently. So if we look at this, we can see that we're averaging at about 24.57 frames per second. When I recorded this, I think your experience may vary because it depends on what you're doing at the time. I was originally doing this whilst I was screen recording, and I was getting terrible frames per second for both the site that we'd done as well as the current site. The optimized stuff that we'd done as well as the current site. So yeah, this is just in this instance, I found that we were getting 24 frames per second pretty much on average. So that's not great, considering this page is just got basically some text and images. But actually, when you look at it, there is quite a lot going on. Like the background is fading in and out. The menu here is moving. Like this logo is fading in and out, and there's also these lines which draw themselves, and they move from. So each section is basically doing some animation, which is contributing to the number of frames the browser is able to render per second. So what we've been trying to do is find some or apply some performance optimizations that will effectively improve the frames per second rate without sacrificing any kind of visual flair or sacrificing any noticeable visual flair in the least. So some of the things we've been trying to do is some of the things we have been doing is for things like the background opacity, instead of changing it between instead of changing it every time it changes to a fractional level of like 4 decimal places, we've reduced that to, say, I think 2 or 1 decimal place, I think, for opacity for the background. And actually, what you see is almost identical to what was there before, and it means that the browser's doing a little less work because it's not having to change the opacity value quite so often. And so we've done that with lots of things like the lines that are drawn, the margin that this menu has on the left and right to push it out, and so that all of that adds up to allow us to increase the frame rate, which is nice. And then we've done other stuff like reduce the amount of things that the browser needs to do. So these images were originally images with a CSS clip path applied to them. So actually there were 1, 2, 3 image elements, 4 image elements, 5, 6 image elements, and each one had a clip path applied to it, and I think a drop shadow or something as well. And so what we've done is we've just removed that and replaced it with just a single PNG, which means the browser has to do kind of less work at render time doing that. And the same thing goes with this. This was actually originally multiple images, like 3 flat images. They were each given a box shadow, and each of them had a 3D matrix applied to them, which is totally rad, but it just meant that there's just more that the browser's doing, and so we replaced them with just a single PNG, which is much easier, or it appears to be much easier for the browser to render, looking at the frames per second rates that we've been getting. And then stuff like all of these animations are run via a scroll event listener. So there's a single event listener for a scroll event, which then fires a custom event on each section So work is a section, open source is a section, and then each section does things like change the background color, draw the lines that go in and out, and things like that. So instead of listening for scroll events, what we're doing now is we're making use of the request animation frame API and checking the current scroll rate, and then basically applying all of our style changes in a single batch operation, so that we're not updating the site outside of the browser's usual repaint cycle, and everything gets patched up, so it can all be done at once basically instead of bit by bit, which is kind of nice. Yeah. So what else have we got? So we should look at this one. So this one is the optimized site, and we're current site got 24 on that run frames per second, and this one's nearly 40. So we've increased by about 15 frames per second, I think, which is pretty nice. We're approaching our 60 frames ideal, but there is still a lot going on here. We can probably do a bit more if we really wanted to, but I think we'd start to kind of sacrifice the look and feel of the page and how it works. But yeah, I think that's about all I need to say.